Imagine you're taking a walk outside. You take a breath of fresh air and look around. You may see some flowers or a bee flying by, and you wonder, how does all of this, bees pollinating plants and the plants staying alive, happen? The answer is coevolution. Coevolution is when two or more species have a relationship that affects each organism's evolution in some way. There are several types of coevolution, including antagonistic and mutualistic relationships. In an antagonistic relationship, one species negatively affects the other, as seen in predator-prey and host-parasite interactions. On the other hand, the coevolutionary relationship between pollinators and plants is often mutualistic, so both species benefit from the interaction. If one species in the relationship evolves, the other will evolve in order to continuously reap the benefits of the interaction. So why is coevolution important? Animals have their own ways of processing their surroundings and surviving in their environment. In some cases, species survive by evolving alongside other organisms. Sometimes evolution acts on single organisms alone, and other times it acts upon two interacting organisms. This is coevolution. All animals have different techniques for how they process the world around them, and each of these capabilities provides unique benefits for the animals that use them. A common misconception is that humans are more evolved than other organisms because their physiology is more complex. Humans are not more evolved, however, because evolution does not occur linearly or work toward a specific end goal. Different species all have their own way of processing their surroundings, so that they can each survive in their unique environments. Within pollinator-plant relationships, pollinators use a variety of sensory techniques to identify their plant of choice, and plants have evolved different physical adaptations such as coloration, scents, or shape to attract specific pollinators and perhaps deter others. According to studies by Hembry et al. And Lomascolo et al., conducted in 2016 and 2019 respectively, coevolution has been linked to increased speciation. Let's say you have a single plant species that's spread across a wide geographic location, like a valley. One bee species begins to pollinate a plant on the east side of the valley, and a different bee species begins to pollinate a plant on the west side of the valley. Because of the benefits that each pollinator-plant relationship presents, each plant begins to change alongside its respective pollinator. Eventually, the two plants will change so much that their offspring become two distinct plant species. The close relationships that have developed between plants and pollinators enable both parties to survive and thrive within their specific environment. This process of species diversification can be seen in the relationship between bats and the plants they pollinate. The bat is a less commonly known pollinator, but equally as important to the environment. A 2019 study by Flores et al. Used sequence data that analyzes the evolutionary relationship between bats and agave plants, and found that the level of agave plant diversification correlates to the number of bats in the area. Agave species have evolved to have more nectar-rich flowers to help feed the bats that, in return, assume their role as the plant's primary pollinator. Another interesting pollinator that demonstrates coevolution are hummingbirds. Research conducted in 2022 by Henderson et al. Has demonstrated that hummingbirds have co-evolved with corolla flowers. It was observed that hummingbirds with curved bills are more likely to pollinate corollas that have a curved morphology, while hummingbirds with straight bills are more likely to pollinate corollas that have a straight morphology. This is because hummingbirds with beak shapes that match the flower shapes have better access to flowers' nectar. But hummingbirds are not the only pollinators that exhibit signs of coevolution. Another pollinator has complex interactions with the plants around them and is vital to the survival of ecosystems, bees. A 2020 study by Baguette et al. Explains how specific flowers called ophrys have the ability to mimic a female bee by releasing sexual pheromones that are similar to those of sexually receptive females. This causes initial male attraction, which is then furthered by the shape, color, and hairiness of the flower. The males attempt to mate with the flowers, resulting in pollen adhering to their bodies. The males repeat this process on other ophrys flowers, causing dispersion of pollen throughout the ophrys species. As a result of this interaction, various selective forces have acted on the ophrys flowers to ensure that they are pollinated more efficiently by male bees. Because the flower's characteristics, scent, color, and shape are designed to attract sex-driven males of specific species of bees, those species are more likely to exist near ophrys flowers and less likely to experience inbreeding. A 2013 study by Clark et al., supported by Papiok et al.'s research conducted in 2016, also demonstrates another mode of coevolution through pollination. Petunia integrifolia flowers have evolved to emit electrical fields that are detectable by bumblebees so they can easily locate their food source, which in turn allows for easier pollination. Butterflies are another pollinator with a unique way of processing their surroundings. Butterflies have photoreceptors in their compound eyes that can detect ultraviolet light. In response, many flowers have co-evolved the ability to generate UV patterns that the butterflies can see. Using a UV light filter, it is possible to see flowers through the eyes of butterflies. These are just a few examples of fascinating worlds of plants and pollinators. Pollinators are a vital part of keeping ecosystems thriving. Unfortunately, many pollinators today are endangered species. Human activity like using pesticides, deforestation, industrialized agriculture, land development, and human-induced climate change has destroyed the natural habitats of pollinators and their host plants around the world. It's estimated that 1 in 6 native bee species are regionally extinct and that more than 40% are vulnerable to extinction. Many butterflies are also endangered. In the United States alone, 19% of butterfly species are currently at risk of extinction. Nevertheless, there are measures being taken to help save these endangered pollinators and their habitats. The Xerxes Society, a non-profit that advocates for the protection of pollinators, has pushed for various butterflies and native bee species to be listed under the Endangered Species Act. So far, they have succeeded in getting 8 native bees listed under the Act. Other advocates for pollinators argue that individual action can also achieve a great deal in the protection of pollinators. Doug Tallamy, for example, is an ecologist who stresses that we can create suitable habitats for bees within our own yards, not just in national parks or reserves. He argues that by planting native plants, meaning plants that originate from a given area and have co-evolved alongside certain pollinator species, we can increase the available habitat for those species. All of these examples highlight the importance of influencing environmental policy and collaborating with one's government to increase protection for pollinators. At the same time, taking individual action can have effects that are just as powerful. While the decline in pollinators and other species can seem overwhelming, we each have the power to try and make a positive change. By changing the way that we view animals and taking action to protect them, we can help their populations to thrive both now and in the future.